I wanted to just let you know that I started my career in 1969, speaking of aging myself, as a community organizer in East Boston, and spent the next 33 years after that at Urban Edge, which is a community development corporation in Jamaica Plain, Roxbury, and the surrounding areas. And after the 30th year at Urban Edge, we began a 3-year leadership transition process as I phased out of Urban Edge. And at that time, Higher Ground's founder, Hugh B. Jones, said, "I'm starting this new organization. Would you come and help me set it up for a couple of years, and then we'll hire a permanent director?" So here we are 12 years later. We're finally a year into the transition plan to our next executive director, who you've already met, my colleague, Brandy Brooks.
Thanks, Mossik. I always laugh about that. You've been interim for 12 years. So to tell you a little bit about my background, I want to start with a little quote. I always start with a quote. So Mark Twain once said, 2 most important days of your life, the day you're born and the day you found out why. And so for me, my journey to Higher Ground really started my why with a very traumatic week when I was 10 years old. So many moons ago, this time of year, on Sunday, October 27th, my maternal grandmother lost her battle with stage 4 lymphoma. Later that day, we traveled to South Carolina to prepare for her homegoing services. On Wednesday, October 30th, 1991, my mother received a call from the local fire department. Our home had burned to the ground. On Friday, November 1st, 1991, we said goodbyes to my grandmother, who was a former elementary school principal in the Deep South during desegregation, a church choir director, an organist, and a woman who was 7 credits shy of earning her doctorate. In this week, we lost everything. And as a child, I was just devastated. We had lost my grandmother to cancer, and we were homeless. And so that period of my life was important for 2 very important reasons. Number one is the reality is that had my grandmother lived 1 week longer, I would not be here today, because the fire marshal said, because of where the fire started, had we been home, we would have all died. And so as hard as it was that we lost my grandmother, she saved our lives. And that's still to this day hard to kind of swallow. The second reason that this is my why is because when I went back to school the following week, so after my grandmother's death, after being homeless, went back to school. I'll never forget this. My 5th grade teacher, she pulled me to the side before homeroom, and she asked me, she said, "Brandy, are you okay?" And I was like, I'm fine. I'm good. I was a 5th grader. And she looked me in my eye and she said, "If you're ever not okay, just let me know." And she hugged me. Y'all, I kid you not, she became part of my village that day without even knowing. And every job I've taken from that moment on, from tutoring to working at the East Boston Social Centers to the Department of Public Health to Bunker Hill, has all been connected to that period in my life in terms of helping to advance causes, housing homeless students and families, education-based enrichments, and the mental health support that I received from the school system at that time. And so right now, as deputy director of Higher Ground, I feel that every single day I get to give that hug that my teacher gave me when I was in 5th grade. And so that's why I do the work I do.
Thanks for sharing that story, Brandy. I just want to jump in. That's quite a story, and I appreciate you relating it to how you got to where you are. And congratulations to both you and Mossik on the transition.
Yeah, thank you. And so I know Mossik and I, we're going to share a little bit more specifically about kind of the work we do and what keeps us up at night with the work.
So we coordinate two major collective impact initiatives consistent with the principles that were articulated in the op-ed that Chris referred to. One is focused on addressing student homelessness, and the other, for that initiative, we're partnered with three other nonprofits, BPS, Austin Housing Authority, the Mayor's Office of Housing, and the nonprofits are DSNI, Project Hope, and New Lease for Homeless Families. In the last 4.5 years, we've housed a little over 400 homeless students and their families, and we're on track to house 500 more students and their families going forward in the next 3 years. The other initiative is the Surround Care Coalition, where we are part of a 14-member partnership. And this is the coalition that sponsors the Summer Learning Academies and the after-school program that Brandy mentioned. And we work with 3 schools, Higginson, Lewis, and Ellis, and the Crispus Attucks Children's Center, with the idea of creating a effective, excellent educational pipeline from birth through middle school. And the 3 schools are part of both initiatives, so that combination of the enrichment programs and the homelessness prevention helps, we think, over time, improve the educational outcomes. Back to you, Brandy.
Thanks. And so one of the questions we were asked to think about is, what do we like most? I mean, I think I kind of shared it with my story, but one of the things is we're a small organization. We've been in existence for 12 years, but we have a very strong foothold in our community, and we truly lead with collaborative work. We believe everything is done in partnership with others. And so over those 12 years, we've continued to partner, whether it's city, private, other nonprofits. We have a growing team and staff and volunteers that work well together. We currently right now have over 20 nonprofit partners working together on the different collective impact projects that Mossik mentioned. And so we're proud of the work we've done. We're proud of what the future holds. And one of the things I'm most proud of, again, is that kid receiving that hug from a teacher, is that we really truly believe in elevating the voices of those most impacted by the day-to-day that's going on in the community, particularly our parents and others in the community. That's important, is that you make sure that that voice is not just called on when there are emergencies, but that you listen to it on a day-to-day basis. So our work is guided by a parent-teacher advisory group. So they advise us on the initiatives that we're doing to tell us, are we moving in the right direction? And so that's, I think, one of the things I like most.
So on the question of what keeps us up at night, or I guess my attitude is that I actually sleep pretty well and have a lot of confidence in what we can accomplish together. So I think generally say nothing keeps me up at night. However, I am impatient about how long it's taking us to achieve the equity that we seek for the families and the schools and the community that we work in. There is no excuse for the disparity that exists in terms of homelessness, in terms of economic disparities and opportunities. So, but what I'm inspired by is when I see, especially in the last 3 years, partners from 14 different nonprofits in one case and 4 nonprofits in another case, and sometimes many representatives of the schools we work with on a Zoom like this, and they're all talking as if they're employed by the same organization. They're talking as a network, as a team, despite the fact that they're on different payrolls. That, to me, is the potential opportunity for the future. And just to help wrap up, the one thing I hope to accomplish this year personally is successfully complete my retirement and transition to Brandy, so that after this year, when people say, I thought you retired, I could say yes, which is what people have been telling me for the last 2 years after I left Urban Edge. So thank you again for the opportunity, and I'll turn it over to Brandy for some final words.
Yeah, I think, just to kind of close up is I'm just excited about what we've been doing and what we continue to do, and just the commitment, as Mossik says, of our partners, that we look at ourselves as not just partners, but we're a part of each other's organizations. We were just having a conversation about that yesterday, just in terms of hiring and working as a unit to do that. I look forward to Mossik being able to retire too, because he says he gets rest, but I don't know when I get a 6 a.m. email. So I'm looking forward to that too. And then I just say in closing is kind of, to echo Mossik, is how do we continue to partner and work together to break down these silos, to really address the inequities in our communities and make sure that all children, all families, no matter where they live, thrive. And so I'm going to put a couple of things in the chat for everybody. In case you have additional questions or anything like that, just some documents. So I'll just upload those now. But thank you so much for allowing us to speak.